on that left tackle and drops the quarterback for a short loss. They are going to take advantage of the inexperience of Jock you saw probably from the very beginning. So that position in particular is one to pay close attention to for Notre Dame's offense and how Ohio State tries to attack his inexperience.
I think Jim Knowles done a much better job of mixing his coverage on the back end also, playing some zone.
Yeah.
When we watch him through the playoffs, and you show Tennessee, but you watch Oregon also, you watch Quinn Ewers, a lot of times the quarterback doesn't actually know what he's looking at. He's done a nice job of mixing his defenses up. And so on the back end, if your quarterback doesn't know what he's seeing, those two defensive ends have been absolutely amazing. And we've talked weekend after weekend about how those guys haven't dominated games, which they expected them to dominate. Well, now they're doing that, and it's a combination of mixed coverages on the back end, making the quarterback hold it. Now it's a different mindset to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, every down, you have to be ready for a run play. It's not like you shift out your big guys on third down because now they're going to pass. This is a different mindset, a different attitude, and a different set of backs in the backfield are really, really impressive for Notre Dame. Not just Love, but Price and Aeneas Williams also are really talented backs. We're going to see if that D-line can stop them.
By the way, did you like and just not JTT?
Jumped right to it.
Right to it. And then he just kept going. And then he just kept going.
There's only one T in Tuimoloau.
But his first name's JT. JTT.
That's true.
You know me. Great McElroy. Just want to make sure he's got it down for the radio broadcast. Coming up on the path to the playoff, Ohio State wins if...
He's a phenomenal athlete. He's a dog. He's unlike anything I've ever really seen. I haven't come across anybody that I've played against like him. I don't think there are a lot of words.
At 7:30 p.m.
So what about Ryan Day in the big game? Entering this season just 2-5 against AP top 5 opponents, with 3 of those losses.
And Sawyer on the outside, but I think it's on the inside is where they make their hay. You look at place. That's why your middle linebacker is usually your number one tackler on the football team, because he gets to run free if your defensive line in front of him are doing their job. So the interior guys are the guys who are going to be the key to stopping the run of Notre Dame.
Especially looking at how Notre Dame wants to attack the opposing defense. You mentioned running the football. Most of their run game comes between the tackles. And with the speed they have at running back, you'd think it'd be to the perimeter. Not the case. It's really right up the middle. So if those defensive tackles and really off-the-ball linebackers, Simon and company, they can play great and be stout up the middle. That'll go a long way into helping their case stop the run.
So an X factor for what Ohio to get the win. When you look at yours individually for a player, who would you go with and why?
I'm going Caleb Downs. And when you talk to any defensive coordinator that is prepared to face Notre Dame, they acknowledge the challenge that required to stop Riley Leonard in the run game. It cannot be overstated. Because he's not a guy that you sit there and think, all right, he's going to kill us with quarterback draw. He's going to kill us with quarterback sweep. It's timely runs. He knows the down and distance. It's not going to be highlight reel. It's not going to be Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick. What it's going to be, when it's 3rd and 7, he gets 7 and 1 inch. So I anticipate from Jim Knowles them going to a defensive structure that puts Caleb Downs right in the middle of the defense. We saw it against Tennessee. We saw it against other mobile quarterbacks down the quarterback. You have him and no other responsibilities. I think that's how they'll structure their defense here, and that puts a big emphasis on Caleb Downs being great in quarterback spy.
Yeah, there's no mystery. Riley Leonard, he's a north-south guy. He's not going to get you with anything. This guy runs that way, and it's been effective for Notre Dame to this point. Okay, so those are the X factors. Those tend to come into play in a big-time game. But, Joey, I'm going to pose it this way with you. Ohio State wins if?
I think we just led you right to that answer.
Yeah.
They stop the run. If they can stop the run and stop Riley Leonard from doing exactly what Greg mentioned, in those moments when it's 3rd and 6, stop him from getting 6.5 yards, because that's what he's really good at doing. If you can make some of the because now it's 3rd and long, Ohio State has a good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, Notre Dame's one of the worst 3rd and long teams in the country. Going into the Penn State game, they had converted under 15%, the worst in the Power 4. So 3rd and 7 plus is a down they have to avoid. Ohio State wins if they don't turn the ball over. Notre Dame, 32 takeaways this year defensively. On those 32 takeaways, they have scored 158 points.
Yeah.
That is 52 points better than the second place team. They're unbelievable when it comes to taking the ball away and capitalizing when they do. And then I think the other thing, they can't allow explosive plays. If Notre Dame, if they just force them to snap the ball and go the length of the field against Ohio State, you're not going to have 15-play touchdown drives. It's not going to happen. You have to have 4-play touchdown drives by hitting a 50-yarder over their head. Front and force them to play offense, that's going to give them a big advantage as well.
And I'd also say with Ohio State coming into this season, Joey, we talked about it all the time. On paper, this was the most talented team in the country.
Yeah.
If they find their way through that end-of-season adversity and go on to win the national championship, I don't care if it's a dominating fashion or not. This goes down as one of the great Ohio State teams in history because the talent met the expectation, which met itself with a national championship. That's Ohio State path to the playoff. Don't fear Notre Dame. We've got your path as well.
Football playoff presented by AT&T.
Downtown Atlanta serves as host for the national championship game Monday night as we expect a contingent of Notre Dame fans to descend upon Mercedes-Benz Stadium and watch their team try to win the first national championship since 1988. The question is, can the Irish await the echoes of a historic season with 13 consecutive wins? And the only one that matters is the 14th. Here's a look at how the Irish got it.
Notre Dame's coming in here. A lot of people excited to see who these teams really are.
They're going to throw for it. Incomplete.
Notre Dame starts 2024 with a bang.
Man, that was a huge victory for our program.
They're going to be in. You don't see many losses left on Notre Dame's schedule.
That's going to pass. What a time to throw a pick for the ball game. There's 5 seconds left. And that's blocked. It's not a scrimmage. The Huskies have beaten Notre Dame.
You go from the highs to highs to the lowest of lows in until 2 weeks, but there's only one option for me.
Leonard looks right, throws left. Love makes the catch. Goes airborne. Oh! Stiff arm on his way to the house. Another touchdown for Riley Leonard. Is there a great team this year? It's kind of Notre Dame. Ball's thrown, tip, intercepted, pick, 6. Notre Dame's path to the playoff marches on.
They have that look to win the national championship.
That's an
That's the journey.
The Irish 10 consecutive wins since the loss to Northern Illinois and headed to the college football playoff.
Notre Dame and Indiana ready to get the college football playoff started.
Jeremiah Love breaks free. Touchdown!
The Irish are on to the quarterfinal and a date with the Georgia Bulldogs.
Touchdown Irish!
17 wins in a span of 25 seconds. 13 wins is the school record, and they hope they have 2 more to go. The Fighting Irish, 2 wins away from their 12th national championship.
Leonard throws wide open. Jaden Greathouse scores.
Allen has a
Cross intercepted. The kick is good. Notre Dame has won the Orange Bowl, and Marcus Freeman is taking them to the championship game.
Appropriate. We start there. Greg McElroy on the call. That great game against Penn State. Joey Galloway, Matt Berry, path to the playoff, presented by AT&T for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. 13-game winning streak, as I alluded to there in the open. It's a program that had a schedule fit for a run, no conference championship. But Notre Dame, Joey, all they've done is silence their doubters throughout the year when people wanted to jump off them against NIU after that loss. And here they are. What did
you say it was fit for a run? It was interesting. They beat Texas A&M, then lose to Northern Illinois. And all of a sudden, it's like, all right, maybe it's not set up. Where could the problems be? Maybe Louisville in the middle of the season, and then they get through that game, and it's like, okay, well, maybe we have something here. They still had Navy and Air Force on that list to play. I mean, they get through that, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is the Notre Dame team we expected. This is the Notre Dame team we saw against Texas A&M, finding ways to win, and now they've arrived at their place. Sort of the same thing we said about Ohio State. They're confident in what they do. They just feel like we're more physical than the other team, and we're going to run the ball and see if they can stop us.
What I love most about this team is that thought they would potentially fail, right, dating back to week 2, they've overcome that reason. Whether it's an injury to their best player, Benjamin Morrison, their corner, they replace him with a true freshman. No, he won't be able to do it. Leonard Moore can't handle that. He's just as good as Benjamin Morrison. Riley Mills, a defensive tackle. 2 edge rushers in Botello and Traore. You look at the left tackle they lost in the preseason, replaced him with a 3-star true freshman. Now that guy is now back. I think that's what's most amazing about this team is that every single time you think they're going to falter because of injury or a lack of depth, someone steps up and makes a play. I love this team. I absolutely love how they've found a way. They're opportunistic, and they force you to play the way they want to play. I just think they're a fascinating story, and one that I think even if you don't have a rooting interest, you can find reasons to love what this Notre Dame team has been.
And that speaks to what Marcus Freeman's been able to do, especially with the injuries. Back in the day, the Brian Kelly era, Notre Dame had enough talent, good enough to get through Notre Dame's schedule, but not good enough to compete for national championships. They'd get there, they'd get to the playoff, they get blown off the field. Marcus Freeman, Joe, has Notre Dame not only good enough to get through Notre Dame's schedule, but good enough to beat the best in the country, the Georgias, the Penn State, contend for national titles. That's huge for him.
In moments when you really couldn't find a path for him.
Yeah.
Especially in the Penn State game, and it felt like Penn State had the game in control a couple of different times. And Notre Dame just stuck with what they do. They just stuck with, we're going to run the ball. We're going to find a way to make some plays. We're going to find a way to, if we can just get one big play in here to sort of flip the momentum. And they continue to do that. And then they get to the end of the game, and once again, okay, how are they going to pull this off?
Yeah.
And they do it. This is a team that honestly, during the course of a year, when you go through things, injuries, so to speak, when you go through things as a team, you find ways to come together. When you have success in doing that, it creates this confidence that is different, a confidence in your locker room that you could care less what the outside world cares about or what they're saying or what they're doing. You believe in here, we can go out and do what we have to do. We can win a national championship.
What I love most is how smart they are by winning the margins. And I think Marcus Freeman, the head coach, deserves a tremendous amount of credit there because they are great most of the time defensively on 3rd down and 4th down. They're great in the red zone, and they're tremendous on special teams. And you think about how many moments have been created by this team throughout the year on special teams, whether it's blocked kicks, fake punts, big field goals by Mitch Jeter in the playoffs that have given them momentum swings at the end of half and at the end of game. And then you also think even stealing a possession or two, like they did against Georgia, getting Georgia to jump off sides, they convert, and now all of a sudden they take 6 minutes off the clock. This team does all the little things right. And that is truly a testament to not just the staff, but more specifically to Marcus Freeman, third-year head coach.
They've played games on a run. They go on a run and get points in a hurry to kind of create the separation. They're very confident, as you said, in what they do. Nothing more than what Jeremiah Love wished after the playoff game. Here's Molly McGrath with that story.
Country, and I want to play the best and win to prove once and for all how great our team really is. We've been doubted all season long, ever since that Week 2 loss to Northern Illinois. He pointed to their underdog status in this game and said that's been the story of our season. Everyone doubts us, which makes us feel like we have nothing to lose. And I can confirm this team is loose and confident. And their quarterback, Riley Leonard, said he has never felt more prepared for a game in his entire life. Matt?
Molly, great stuff. Thank you, Joey. That's a thing inside the locker room. If there's naysayers, they're 8.5-point underdogs, believing you can contend with anyone. That sometimes is good enough to not only get you on the field, but maybe get you a win.
It'll get you on the field. I honestly don't know if it'll get you a win because you go out here and you got to get punching them out and punch them in the mouth.
Yeah.
So all those emotions, all those things that are on the board before you leave the locker room, all the little things you touch, you know what I mean? Like pet the dog, whatever it is, when you leave the locker room, that'll carry you for about 2 series maybe before it kicks in. Now we got to go play some football.
It can also work against you too. Like if you're told, you can play the underdog card, that's great. And that will hype you up a little bit. In a championship game, I don't know if it matters as much. If you're not ready to play in this one, I'm not sure what to tell you, but it can also work against you because if things go sideways early, all of a sudden you're in a 14-0 hole, you start to think maybe we're underdogs for a reason.
Right.
So I think you got to be delicate with how you approach it, but you know Marcus Freeman is using that, putting a chip on these guys' shoulder.
By the way, Galloway would be the only player that would not pet the dog.
No, I
He'd
wouldn't
go
pet the
right
dog.
by you, pet the dog.
No way.
What's the dog have to do with anything? You know what I love? Notre Dame defense. They've been as good as anybody in the country, but this Ohio State offense presents a challenge like they haven't seen yet as we continue Notre Dame's path to the play.
Path to the college football playoff is presented by